So, guys, President Ruto is at the G7 meeting in Italy, where they're meeting for the so-called peace talk between Russia and Ukraine. How is it they can have a peace talk with Russia and Ukraine, and Russia is not invited and not allowed to come to this summit? That makes no sense. That's not a peace talk. That's just some people together to see what their next step to attack Russia, basically. And smack dead in the middle is President Ruto of Kenya. Why? Because he's the puppet of the Americans. The American sides with Israel, Ruto sides with Israel. The American side with Ukraine, Kenya, President Ruto side with Ukraine. America tell them send troops to Haiti, he sent troops to Haiti because he got 100 million. This is the definition of a puppet president. And take a listen to what he's saying in his summit as well, and then we're going to dissect it a bit. Take a listen. Boom.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been a horrifying spectacle of carnage and devastation, which has left 500,000 people dead and 7.1 million people displaced in its wake. Across the world, people and nations are enduring the negative consequences of disrupted supply chains. Kenya's position has been clear and unequivocal from the beginning. Russia's aggression against Ukraine is unlawful, unjust, and a violation of the fundamental principles of international law, which honor the sovereign equality of nations, upholds their territorial integrity, and advocates the peaceful resolution of all disagreements. Just like the war in Ukraine, the war in the Middle East has been equally devastating. So is the case with the war in the Sahel region in Africa, in Eastern DRC, in Somalia, in the Horn of Africa, and of course in the Sudan. 40 million Africans have been displaced by the war in our continent, and 2.5 million kids are out of school. This state of affairs speaks volumes of global leadership, and especially the peace architecture at the United Nations, and more specifically, the gridlock at the United Nations Security Council. Today, a farmer in Kenya, in rural Kenya actually, knows there is war in Ukraine for two reasons. Number one, he paid more for his fertilizer, and number two, his fertilizer came late. Let me also say, this peace summit is a historic step in the right direction. For the first time, we have convened to talk about peace in Ukraine and not war in Ukraine. Secondly, a commitment to peace makes certain fundamental concessions inevitable. This summit should not be a meeting of just friends. This should be a meeting of both friends and foe. To succeed in this positive trajectory, Russia must be on the table, number one. Number two, an American general, Norman Swartzfeld, said, the more we sweat in peace, the less we bleed in war. It is time for leaders of the world to talk about peace, negotiate peace, work hard to build peace, and configure a global strategic framework that integrates peace as the sole means and end of human endeavor. Finally, we have gathered here and we are reminded by the Indian statesman Mahatma Gandhi, who said that an eye for an eye will make humanity blind. Just as Russia's invasion of Ukraine was unlawful and unacceptable, the unilateral appropriation of Russia's assets is equally unlawful, unacceptable, and a derogation from the UN Charter, especially for those of us who believe in freedom, justice, and democracy, and the rule of law. As we embark on this journey to resolve conflict in Ukraine and throughout the world, it's time for parties to the war in Ukraine to demonstrate good faith, abandon intransigent attitudes, and soften their positions. I think.
So there you see, Iman is actually blaming Russia for the what happened in Ukraine. Russia, for a person who was the relaxed sit back, the NATO groups try to encircle him by adding more and more people to the NATO group. When he tell them stop, they wouldn't. Now Ukraine's try to join and then he have to defend his country. Now he's saying for them to have a peace talk, Russia have to leave the territory, which will never happen. They capture like four big major cities. You think they're going to give that up because you say so? No, just worry about it. Putin said that for you have to the land we already have will keep, and something else. He said that for them he gave them two rules. Anyway, it's not important because they refuse it, and they will never accept it because the American said so. So President Ruto need to fix his own issues in his own country. Entire day flying around on private jet with costing the citizens 1.8 or 1.8 million US dollars it cost him to fly with a private jet from the UAE to visit, have a talk in Washington with President Biden. And why is it you are traveling so much? The man spent over $6 billion in less than 9 months and that's traveling. Where 6 billion, where your country need this money, and you say the country is struggling financially because the country have high inflation, your currency is devaluing, but yet you're traveling as if there's no tomorrow, going to places that not really yielding any results. Why? Because the president of America called us, so you fly gone. Russia helps African countries with no strings attached. Russia helped South Africa during apartheid. They helped Zimbabwe. They just started deal with Zimbabwe. They started help Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Namibia, um, Cameroon. No, not Cameroon. They didn't go to Cameroon. They are in Chad, Guinea. So they and the thing is with China, with the Russians, whenever the Russians give you any military aid, there's no string attached. When they give you food aid, there's no string attached. When they give you a loan, there's no strings attached. They also forgive loans they give to African countries already. So there's no string attached when the Russian comes in and aid. They don't have to tell you have to give them a resources, you have to give them a base. But the Americans, every single thing they do for any African country, there's string attached. If they give you food aid, you have to only take food from them and pay out a specific price. You can't buy from no one else. Then if they help you militarily, you have to put a base there and you cannot touch visit the base, you cannot go on it. If they whatever the soldiers do does in the country while they're there, they are exempt from every single thing, whether it's fights, grapes, domestic violence, unaliving someone, you cannot touch them. That's string attached. If they give you assistance financially, it ties to LGBTQ promotion. So everything they do is string attached. And these are the people you want to align yourself with. The height of puppetry is President Ruto. This is the definition of a puppet. A person who will do anything for the oppressors, the colonizers, against his own kind, his own citizens, his own people. And this is why he will not last much longer. They're talking of impeachment for him already. And it's getting louder and louder because what? He does everything he can against his own people. You're telling your citizens, don't spend within their means while you are spending money as if you have it. He's since he's been president, he racked up $12.6 billion in travel in expenses for the country. That money could go back into the government coffers to help the country alleviate some of the stress the citizens are feeling instead of giving them more tax and taxes. But while you're traveling in private jets, you're not even using the Kenyan airline, you're using private jets. And you're traveling with 30 people. 30 people mean 30 rooms, multiple cars, food, clothes, and all that. That's a high expense for just one trip. We does not yield anything because you're going to your puppet master, so he's not going to give you anything in return. Because what you're doing is bidding for him, and then they're going to give you a private account somewhere. And when as soon as you left your presidency, you have to run away because of prison term you might receive for all the laws you broke while he was president. But this president does that. The president of Senegal, as soon as he lose, he jump on a plane the same night and head to France. Why? Because he have done so much wrong. He's afraid of being locked up for life. So he run away to France where he have a house and those things in his name. This is show you that But this is getting less and less occurring because there are more and more African presidents now standing up to the West, but especially the younger people like Senegal, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Chad, Guinea, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Uganda. These are countries president that doesn't mess around with the West, and it's getting Zambia as well. So anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comment section of what you think President Ruto is doing, and let me hit me up in the comment section. As I always reply. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Boom.